We are live and it is Wednesday. We're coming to you on fireengineering.com and firefighter.nation.com. And we are here with RJ and Jeremy and John. RJ and Jeremy are the regular hosts. I'm Bobby Halton. We are just jumping in here for comic relief. Jeremy and RJ are going to do the actual hosting and talk about training. But we had a great opportunity. Chief Wintel here from Owasso, Oklahoma, is going to allow us to walk around a facility that you will not believe. It is state of the art. It's unbelievable. Owasso, Oklahoma is outside of Tulsa, 35,000 people, but they built a facility that rivals Randall's Island in New York City. It's a scaled down version of The Rock, but you will not believe the thoroughness, the attention to detail. Now, who was the chief who was the spearhead in the project? We were just talking about
Chief Stuckey, obviously, before we got started, Chief Garrett was the original chief on the project.
Chief Garrett and Chief Stuckey.
He is now our assistant city manager. Chief Hurst is our fire chief now. And then Chief Stuckey, our assistant chief, is the one that spearheaded it and acted as the kind of the secondary general. So everything that was done out here was detailed with a fine-tooth comb by him. So he held it to task, and it's a beautiful facility.
And at the end of the broadcast, we'll make sure we post up some contacts to John and Chief Stuckey and Chief Hurst. And if you have any questions about how they did it, they'll be happy to talk to you. How a community of 35,000 built a facility that, honest to God, when you see it, you'll think you were on Randall's Island. Maybe better. They looked at the needs of the community. They looked at what they had to have. This place will blow your mind, absolutely blow your mind. So, RJ, what are we going to be talking about today other than that?
So we're going to talk about a little bit of engine operations and engine operations with incorporating the training aspect. I think with you being in the location that you're at with Chief Whistle, we can talk about how we use these facilities to do training and to get good training out of these facilities. We'll also talk about the equipment that we need at our training facilities and the different types of equipment that we need for training. And then ultimately, I think the biggest thing is, and I would love to hear it myself from Chief Whistle, is the buy-in, getting the buy-in from the community, getting the buy-in from the department heads and those type of people that you need to sell it to in order to get the facilities. Because obviously, we have to design the facility. We have to put together something that's conducive to our people, but then we have to sell it to people. We have to get the buy-in. So
RJ and I were laughing before. We have a great friend, Larry Dowling, who has a great quote, which I'll paraphrase. I won't quote exactly, but if you don't think training's the most important thing we do, then I can't help you. Because it just flat out is. Before we begin, we want to do a couple quick shout outs to some really important friends of the fire service for the work that they just did. First is John Stewart. And John Stewart, you might know him. He's a very famous comedian, great guy. John was able to push through the Zagota bill and take care of our firefighters and cops and everybody else who got kind of jammed up with 9/11 and all that. So thank you, Mr. Stewart, man, on behalf of the American Fire Service. You're a stand-up guy. You never let us down. You helped us push this through. Just the Feel Good Foundation, check them out. They were behind it. And also, we got a shout out to Rush Limbaugh, who sold these T-shirts, this American flag Betsy Ross T-shirts, and donated all the proceeds to Tunnel to Towers, Stephen Stiller Foundation. He gave them $3 million, and so those $3 million bought homes for I believe like a dozen firefighters and cops and military folks who died in the line of duty, paid off their mortgages. The last one they paid off was a poor cop that got killed down in Texas who had 7 kids, and his wife was pregnant when he got killed. And also, one of the houses that he bought went to a firefighter who was killed in Hanover last year, Virginia. And I know the wife, Melanie, who's also a firefighter. And Tunnels to Towers, go to Tunnels to Towers. You can also go to Tunnels to Towers, and for $11 a month, you can help them support their mission. And you can join me Sunday. That's August 31st. I'll be down in Oklahoma City. We got a 5K, Tunnel to Towers. We'll be in Mitch Park. It's like $25. You get a T-shirt. You get to hang out with a bunch of dopey firemen and cops and first responders and military dudes. And we're going to run a 5K. And you know how we run. We run, have a cigar. I'm just kidding. We run a 5K, but it's a fun run. So it's a lot of fun. And thank you to Mr. Limbaugh. Thank you to Mr. Stewart. Thank you to Stephen Stiller's Tunnel to Tower Foundation for taking care of us. And you know, we don't get to say thank you enough to men like Mr. Limbaugh and Mr. Stewart and people who, you know, who take time out of their busy schedules. These guys don't need to care about, you know, the men and women on the front line, but they do, and they donate their money and their time and their influence, and God bless them for doing that. So RJ, you and Jeremy start chatting. Now we may have some technical stuff. John and I are going to go to a cell phone and rejoin, and so we're going to get out of this office so we don't cause some reverb, and then we're going to be walking the facility. So let's start with some basic engine company training, and we'll start looking at the facility, and we'll jump in another minute.
All right. Sounds good, Chief.
And if I get within 5 feet of a computer, something's going to go wrong. So heads up.
Awesome. So while the Chief is walking around, what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk about some basic engine operations and training in engine company operations. I decided to bring on today one of my good friends, Jeremy Hawkins, who is a sergeant with the West Lanham Hills Volunteer Fire Department in Prince George's County. And we decided to have a small discussion about engine company operations and training for engine company operations. I thought that it would be good for Jeremy to shed some light on what they do at West Lanham Hills, which I feel is a pretty good, and not only good, but aggressive volunteer fire corporation within the state of Maryland as well as nationwide. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend Jeremy. So Jeremy, real quick, tell people a little bit about yourself, your time in the fire department, how you got your experience, and when you transferred to West Lanham Hills, and then how you worked your way up.
What on, guys? Thanks, RJ, for the introduction. I've been living at West Lanham Hills Company 28 for about 2 years now. Recently promoted this past year to sergeant. I was a member of Laytonsville Firehouse, Laytonsville Volunteer Fire Department in Montgomery County for a few years before I decided to make the switch to PG County, just get a little bit more experience, a little more fires, things like that. So that's where I come from. Yeah.
So, Jeremy, talk to the people, because we've had a lot of good conversations about training in regards to how you guys train your people and the different characteristics of the training and how you guys push your people to conform to you guys' way of life at West Lanham Hills. So give me from the beginning. So I signed up to be a volunteer at West Lanham Hills, and give me the breakdown of what it's like with the training aspect of engine company operations.
So everybody gets a rookie book, and within your rookie book, you'll find different checkoffs such as apparatus inventory and hose line lengths, sizes, things like that, and different tasks you have to accomplish, such as throwing ladders with the ladder truck or stretching lines with the engine. We tend to start all our new guys out after they've showed that they can stretch lines to a satisfactory level out on the line at it's a position where your officer has a lot of influence and you're supposed to be with your officer, and it's a good position for new guys kind of prove themselves, show what they're about. So you come in, you're a rookie, you stretch lines, and I'm a huge advocate of stretching lines out in the community that you serve. So we'll go to these apartment complexes and actually stretch lines, get real obstacles, stretching through cars and up the apartment steps, things like that. So it adds a level of realism as opposed to just stretching in the firehouse. I mean, we will stretch in the firehouse some, out the back door and up the back steps or something like that. But we try to get out in the community, use vacant houses, throw ladders, things like that. So I feel like getting into the community that you serve.
RJ and Jeremy, can you hear me?
Yep, Chief.
Hey, I just want to introduce you to the facilities maintenance director here. This is Lane, and Lane is responsible for taking care of all of the space inside the building. And he's here with his dad, and his dad is our fire marshal. Lane is actually an employee of the Owasso Fire Department, and he takes care of all the buildings and does an incredible job, right, Lane? That's right. He's a really good man, and he's doing a great job. So we just wanted to say thank you to Lane for all his hard work. I've never seen a cleaner fire station, RJ. I'm telling you right now, this man is worth his weight in gold.
Nice to meet you, Lane.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
All right, he's right here, baby. We got the man. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate it. All right, guys. while you're talking, we're just gonna kind of walk around the station, and you guys keep going. But I agree with you, Jeremy. You know, when we're doing training, that the idea, and when you see the rest of this facility, you want to be throwing doing drilling in the community. That's a great idea. And anytime we're drilling, it should be as realistic as we can possibly get it. As you can see, they've got a nice 3-bay station here. The doors fold inward, which is kind of interesting because in order for me to hit them, like I used to hit them when I was a kid, I'd have to pull all the way over to the side here to smack the door. They kind of fold off to the side rather than rolling up. So I'll have to swerve the truck all the way over here to hit it.
Chief, your trip. But Jeremy definitely did bring up a good point, and being able to train out in the community is huge. I know I don't ride an engine at all, really, but that was one of the things that we would push. And I know being at work, we have a rescue squad and an engine company. We try to get out and stretch lines as much as possible. One of the biggest things that I think is important for that aspect of it is being able to teach these newer people who are coming on to ride the engine how to be able to estimate the stretch, right? I as a unit officer, me and Jeremy have me and Jeremy have had many discussions about what the officer's role is. And I think that the officer has so much that they need to do that being able to rely on the person riding the line to be able to make the estimated guess of how much hose they need without having to bug the officer with all the other things that the officer has going on. So I solely agree with Jeremy on being able to get out into the community and stretch lines in the community. Now,
Jeremy, one time I saw these guys doing some stretch estimates, and what they had done was they took rope, right, and they laid out rope and they put knots with flags on them for every 100 feet. And so they were a pretty busy engine company, and these guys told me, they said, "Look, boss, we can't be pulling hose off and then having to reload." So all they did was they would say, "Okay, we're going to estimate stretch." They would say, "What do you think it is?" And they would mess with one another, and then they would just be able to pull the rope and say, "Hey, man, you were within 50 feet, or you were 100 feet shy, man, or you were 200 feet over, or whatever it was." But by stretching rope, they didn't have to interfere. But this is one of the classrooms that they built in this facility.
wow.
Remember, this is a community of 35,000 people. So you're looking at an amazing deal. We're going to be stepping outside. The first building you're going to see as we step outside the doors here is a utility building that they built to house all their extra equipment, their shed. They've got 4 stations. This is station 4. But check this big building here. That son of a gun is just for maintenance and tool equipment and storage and all of that. So, right here, if you look at this area here, here's the way they built the pad. You could do a lot of different stretches. You could set up a lot of obstacle courses. You could do a bunch of great stuff right here, to Jeremy's point. And then, but I love the idea. Take a section of rope, go out to the local, strip mall, go out to the local church parking lot, or whatever building you might be thinking about, and do some stretching.
Yeah,
we're lucky enough to have a second engine too, so we utilize that a lot. Have one of the drivers drive the engine out, and we'll stretch off the second piece so we can keep the piece in service. But I really do like that idea about the rope. It gets people thinking, and it's an alternate way to kind of look at things. So
and I have all your hose off the rig.
Yeah, we have to try that out.
You have to stretch. Yeah, Chief. We used to have one of those walking tape measures. So we would take the walking tape measure and we would walk with it, and it would calculate the distance.
That's another great idea.
Yeah, another good idea. So hey, Chief, is Chief Whistles still with you?
He's right here.
Hey, so Chief, would you mind talking a little bit about what we're seeing right now in the different parts of the facility? So now, I guess a lot of people we're all looking at this like, wow, this place is awesome. Like, it's huge. Now, is it a shared facility? So do you guys share with like police department or any other agencies, that kind of thing?
Yes, so on the headquarters side of the building, we have a little area that's for the police. So they have a satellite station that's on the northern corridor of the city, kind of keeps them having to bounce around. Also in the very back of the field, you'll see later we have a sand and salt storage area as well as a confined space and a trench rescue area, so that our public works can train on that, because they do a similar ropes and rescue training as we do every year, trying to
Oh,
start
wow.
a little bit. So yes, it is very much a trained shared facility, not just with other jurisdictions and fire, but also with other groups in the city. So,
And they also have, you see that big yellow box there? That's an external power supply. So when power goes down, they can keep this facility up and running so that they can use it like an EOC. John, why don't you explain why you got two plugs right there?
we've got two plugs. One is a city plug, one is a rural plug. Because we run not just inside the city limits, we also service about our internal city limits about 30 some odd square miles. Externally, we service over 75 square miles and up to about 65, 70,000 people. So we have different water supplies.
So I'm giving you a backside view here, boss. Jeremy and RJ, you can kind of see the backside of these two houses side by side, and then they got a big storage barn back there. I'm going to walk to the street. So if you look here, they have built actual streets. John's built actual streets here that are standard width for this community, so they actually can do driver training. They could be coming down this road. John, what you print out ahead of me there, and
Absolutely.
so this is the back side of that utility building we were talking about. And then you come upon their training neighborhood. So John, we're going to hit the training neighborhood here, and John will give you a quick 411 on what we're seeing here. So you got one single house, then you got two houses side by side, and then there's your multifamily in the back. So we'll start right here with Chief Wintel and this single family.
Sure. So the two facilities here to our east, one is a 1,200 square foot typical residential structure for our area. The other is about 2,000 square feet, typical structure for our area. To the west, we've got this is our gas-fired prop building, and it's about a 3,200 square foot structure, very typical for our area. And if you'll notice, everything is built on zero lot lines with fences, trees, shrubbery, all the same debris and issues that we would have on a normal structure.
So these are Class A burn houses.
Yes,
John.
these two are Class A burn houses. So obviously what we've got in there is not for Class A burns. That's the leftovers from the props. We'll get that cleaned up. But it gives us the option of using different kinds of fire, setting up some different scenarios, and giving you that cherry on the icing at the end of the day, a good robust fire to put it out and kind of celebrate your day's training with.
So, it's not your typical drill tower. It looks like a little 1,200 square foot home. It looks like a little 2,300, 2,400 square foot home. Right here, doing Class A burns. We're just going to step inside. RJ and Jeremy, if you got any questions while we're doing it, just shout them out and John will answer.
It's a little bit dark. I'm going to open a couple of windows so we get a little light in here.
John's opening up so there you can see the boss is opening up a couple of windows. So if we take I don't know how it's looking to y'all, but it's kind of laid out. So you've got, this would be your family room. Then you got your kitchen would be right over here. And then typical layout for, anywhere America. You can either come down, they have it set up with two doors. So you could come down a long hallway over here, or you could come right in a main door. And then you come back through here and they got it all set up with bedroom, just like you see regular home. So and this is all set up for Class A burns. So they even have the bathroom. There's a bathroom right off in here. I'm heading into the bathroom. The lighting's kind of bad, but they even put it's got a bathroom with a closed door in here, so you could have like a walk-in closet kind of scenario. Do a search. So pretty fascinating deal, and we'll take a look at all of these facilities, but pretty amazing area. We'll get back outside and give you another view, but this gives you an idea what they both look like inside. They're set up for Class A fire, and as John mentioned, there's shrubbery, there's trees, there's sidewalks, there's driveways. It has a full-size garage. So you can do garage fires. You could do whatever your fancy is.
The genius of it is when you go into all three of these residential structures, as well as our three-story kind of a taxpayer, if you will, all of the little funky little nooks and crannies you get lost in, the bathrooms, they're all built into the structure. So it's not something you have to put up dividers and do that. So I think it's just genius. If anybody's been in a lot of structures, you've done a couple of donuts in a closet trying to figure out where you were.
Absolutely.
Have that trained out of everybody before you get in that situation.
So then we're going to walk across, Jeremy and RJ, and we're going to take a look at the gas-fired prop house, because that's got some really fascinating features in it. So, but again, I mean, look at the attention to detail,
Hey,
you guys.
hey, Chief Wintel,
It's just like anybody's yard, trees like anybody's trees. This one has the garage, which is real common in our part of the woods here. It's off to the side. So you've got the A side, but the garage is actually offset to it's usually offset to the D side, which is really interesting. So but it's real common here in Oklahoma. So that's how they built that structure. But those two have the garage right on the A side, much more common. So in Oklahoma, you could have a garage fire. It's going to be the D side of the building. So kind of an interesting, again, they thought about their local community. What did they want to have? And as you can see, the workers are still putting some of the props in, but it's a 2-story, pretty standard. You'd come in, here's the stairs going up to the second floor. But look at the attention to detail, you guys. It's
Yeah.
like the front bedroom right off the side, then it goes down here. They've got a bathroom built into it. They've got another bedroom back over here and another bedroom back over here. It could be like a day room, an office room, or whatever. But
They've all got closets or bathrooms in them as well. Every room has a room.
every room has a room within it, John was just saying. And then here's your stove props. So you got your kitchen going to be right here. Then you've got your kitchen area. But check this out. This is what blew me away. Come out here. How many grill fires do you, Jeremy? You probably go to a million of them because you work with all the rich people. They're always grilling. Well, he told me he does in Prince George County. It's like Millionaireville. So here's your grill prop, and think about it. You could have it right over an enclosed area, which so many people do, or you could move it if you wanted out into the grass, and they got a yard with grass and even sprinklers. They left nothing. Nothing is like not as real as they couldn't make it.
Yeah. Hey, Chief Halton, I wanted to ask Chief Wintel. So is vertical ventilation a thing that you guys do? Is that common in your department? And how are your structures set up? Do you guys do that?
Okay, so vertical ventilation is not a go-to tactic for us, and the reason being is that our construction features are so lightweight on residential that to get on it, me getting on it in just my gear, and I've been in the remodel construction business for years. If I get on it in my gear, I'm apt to fall through. We use 3/8 inch OSB, and if it's truss built, it's going to be 2x4s. The biggest you're going to have on rafter structure is 2x6. So it's going to burn away before it collapses in on us, giving different parameters on the amount of structure that's built over the top. But for the most part, it's just not a go-to. For us, we don't have the staffing to make it really a go-to tactic. We can do it. We know how to do it. We do train for it, but it's not something that we commonly do at all.
So RJ, I'm a volunteer in the department like right next door, and I'm on the training staff there. And for us, it kind of is a go-to tactic because most of our communities are a little bit older.
Yeah.
We're a little bit different, and we do practice the Milwaukee technique where we throw parallel ladders and then work in between two ladders. So we've got a safe platform fell out on either side, but we use it a little more frequently there. And Owasso rolls with us all the time with the volunteer gig that I'm on. And so, it's always in context, right? The decision's always in context. And what's cool about this area, and I'll brag on this, as a matter of fact, the smoke divers are starting a chapter here. Oklahoma Smoke Divers is going to be starting up here. Also partners with the Georgia Smoke Divers. Georgia Smoke Divers are actually doing all the trainer stuff. So out here, we always make sure that the officers and the firefighters are able to make decisions in context, right? There's no cookie cutter approach to anything in this neck of the woods. And if you look at the way that John and Chief Sperling and Chief Hurst, the way they built this facility, it's all been designed in order to encourage people to think about the problem and to address the problem, not to try to match the SOP to the fire.
Yeah.
There's never an always.
So I gotta ask, because this has been on my mind looking at this amazing facility that you have set up here, Chief
One
Wintel.
second, RJ, they got a worker here. I was just showing you. In the garage, they got a car. What a shocker. Imagine that. A car in the garage that could actually catch fire. So I just thought that was pretty cool. Go ahead with your question, RJ. We're out now.
I said, so I got to ask Chief Wintel because this has been on my mind as you guys have been walking around the facility. And me and Jeremy were just literally saying to ourselves, what were you guys using before?
So they were using one of the stations, the parking lot of the station. So they were training, but they were more drilling than they were actually training. Staffing typical for any department about our size, it's really hard to get overtime in and do the big good training. So that's kind of one of the biggest issues we're going to have is trying to get everybody in a shift together to train and not just blow our overtime budget. We've got some ideas. We've been working on it. But before this, there was really not anything like that. There's a facility about 5 miles north of Halton, Tulsa, where I came from, and they had a facility that's similar. It's not nearly, it's completely different than this. So it kind of works well with it.
Chief, I gotta come out there and do some work with Chief Halton. What's the going rate on that hotel behind you?
So yeah, how do you like that? So, they built a pond for drafting, so they can come here and they can do drafting operations. Because remember, this is a rural community, so there's places we have to do draft operations. But they could actually bring the pumper down here or the tanker. They pull up, do their drafting operations, then have to drive out, go all the way around, come back out, and stage, do a dump tank, and do all those evolutions, and then use that water on the facility. So here's the backside of what we're calling the RJ No-Tell Motel.
By the way, real quick note, all of the water was captured and brought back into the pond and recycled from the pond. So nothing goes back to the city.
Chief, say that again. You were cutting out.
Okay, sorry. All the water on the facility, everything we use will be recaptured and repurposed through the pond. So everything comes in and out of the pond. Even the city water will eventually go down to the pond with those hydrants.
That's awesome.
So tell us about the RJ Motel.
Okay, so RJ Motel is bottom floor is going to be a typical office space. So it's back there. We've started building these in Owasso now, so they want to have something that reflected the community completely. So bottom floor is cannot access the second floor except from the outside. So there's no access to the second floor on the inside. So it's the same as it would be in our residential. Second floor will be like a nursing facility or apartments, and the third floor is the converse of those.
We're going to go up and take a look at some of these, but as you guys know, Montgomery County had that similar kind. Obviously, it was wood going up, but these buildings are going up, by the dozens all across America. You take a look at the Raleigh Fire Department had a big fire with one of these. Montgomery, I think it was Montgomery County had a big one.
I was on that one.
These are becoming a real issue for us, and very popular residential style. In some places, code requires them. Jersey requires them to be non-combustible first floor, but here in Oklahoma, it can be wood. It could be a combustible first floor. Now, obviously, for training purposes, this is all block so that they could do live fire in it. But remember that this is the modern problem, and so here's a community that's already out ahead, of what's coming into their community. And what, 3 or 4 of these went up in the last 2 years? Yeah, three or four of these multifamily on second, third, and fourth floors, and downstairs, they got the bodega, they got the card shop, the dry cleaner, and such. So fascinating problem. So in terms of training, what an incredible prop. Now I want to reiterate one more time, this is a community of 35,000 people. So when I hear people saying, "Oh, we're too small," or "We can't do that," there is nothing that the American Fire Service can't do when the right people have the right motivation to do the right thing.
Yeah.
This has been a project 5 years in the making. Almost to the day, 3 years ago, this concept was taken to the Capital Improvement Planning Commission. That's a little different than some do, so it was not an easy sell for them.
So John, we're inside, RJ and Jeremy. We're inside. This is like here's the front door entrance, just like you would. You'd come in. So we're just basically giving you an orientation.
That's where you check in.
We're walking through the front door. Are we still transmitting? But it's set up just like any commercial structure. You've got offices down the hallway here. You come back here, you got more going on down here. It's pretty amazing. We'll head up to the second floor. So, RJ, the other thing, here's a big old barn back there. That's where we're storing stuff. But remember, salt and sand. You got to remember that this community, our most famous resident, was about 5 miles down the road there. He's a not a really well-known musician, guy named Garth Brooks. You might have heard of him. Anyway,
I'm familiar.
yeah, you heard of him. So anyway, we have rural emergencies here too. Like you can see a lot of open lands. So we have hay bale fires, we have tractor turnovers. So they can do all of that here too, and those props are coming, and all of that's happening. But men like Jeremy and RJ, seriously, if you want to come here and see this facility and do a little training, and stay, me casa, su casa, you got Hotel Halton, and also if you want to rack with the men, the Owasso.
We can also just tell Chief Wintel that we want to stay at his hotel.
There you go. There you go. And then the Tulsa guys, and gals, they just built an amazing facility as well. So, as a matter of fact, I think the people that own this property back here, isn't that Garth's ex-mother-in-law? Yeah, it's Garth's ex-mother-in-law's pad back there in the distance out there, man.
Right.
So I think Garth donated the land just to piss her off. Isn't that? I'm just kidding. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Hey, Chief Wintel, I wanted to ask. So, do you guys have how does the use of the facility work for you guys? So, like, is it something like you guys run like academy classes out of, or you guys bring the other guys from the other stations to that facility to do in-house in-service training, or how does that work for you guys?
Well, so for right now, we're still in the planning stages of that. We're looking at hopefully being able to share some of the facility in Tulsa with the state fire school because it's kind of overrunning their facility. We can hold hands with the Tulsa facility, great. It's completely different kind of setups. So we're hoping for that. Obviously, all of the outlying communities, the other jurisdictions are going to be able to come in and work and train here. Our department, we don't do, say, an academy. We kind of do more of an orientation. And so this facility is truly built it's truly built for the masses. It's built for our department to alleviate some of the training load for us, as well as the departments to our north, south, east, and west, hopefully. So that's the concept going in, and the fine detail we're very robustly working on right now.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, can you imagine the drilling we could do here, partner? I mean,
Yeah.
Jeremy, imagine if you could take the crew out to a place like this every day and say, "Hey, let's do this." You know what I mean?
There's enough there that you can come up with something new every day.
Oh, absolutely. And before you start a fire, you can train for 3 weeks out here and never see the same thing twice.
Right.
PD, our local police have been using this honestly more than we have here recently. They've been coming up here and rappelling off and doing some SWAT stuff, a little bit of hut training in the houses, and they can use the facility out here to do traffic stops and things like that in the public eye, get all the scrutiny from that, and people seeing that and wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a little nice place for them to play.
If you just look at this one feature right here, think of all the different line issues we could do here. You could do estimating stretch up multiple stairs in the building to get to the third floor. You could do dropping your line, teaching guys how to do the clove hitches here to secure the line. You could run it there's some plugs off the other side if you run an engine right off a plug over there. You could do spotting with your aerial device using that drive out position you have there. I mean, just the options here. Even when you talk about the pond, you could do some basic, water rescue stuff in there. Get the guys.
Already been in there in the boats.
They've already been in there in the boats. They already beat me to it. So we're just here. So we're just talking about this. We're talking about here's your well. Teaching the guys and gals how to do a well stretch, right? You come here. Here's your well stretch. There's your standpipes. You can teach everybody your operations. And so, John, take it away. What else?
So if you go back behind the lobby here, see another one of our gas fire props here. This facility is all gas. We bought somewhere in the area of, that's like the exact 32 props up there is what we bought. So we've got 32 furnaces burned, which is really a lot. we've got to define bottoms, 3 stories, 3 stories to 10 stories to set up the rating, all of that.
So, rather than the drill tower where we're doing kind of somebody through the floor, here you are, we can bring in, there's a stove right there or whatever. So you could bring in furniture and whatnot, have somebody through the floor, really do a mock-up in context, you know what I mean? Like trying to get somebody out of a spot like this to the next floor. We'll go up and take a look at what that looks like up there. But
to illustrate what I was talking about earlier, I just wanted to see this. You walk in here, you have a closed door, right? Get up there, you're doing your good, doing your left or right start, find that handle, you open that door, search in there. This is what you're walking into. You've got it's a closet. It's built into the structure with a full door, and these are everywhere. Bathrooms, closets, Pullman bathrooms, you'll see all around here. So those are the kind of things that impress me as much about this as anything else, because the thought was put into that. And how that got started was we put out a questionnaire membership, had all this input. What do you want us to be? The firefighters out on the street said, look, we need a training that's not just big square buildings. We need corners, we need nooks, crannies, closets, and bathrooms, and all the things we have in our structures to train in. And look what happened. So if it can be done. It's a long road. It's a long, hard road, but it's working.
all right, fellas, while we head upstairs, let's keep going.
And I'm still going. So,
Alan, can you flow water?
yes, not right.
This is to flow water. So again, we're talking about a well stretch. Here we are inside the stairwell. If you want to teach guys how to, lay out inside a stairwell, here we go. If you want to teach them how to, drop their working line down below, it's really we're cutting in and out a little bit. I apologize. We're inside a gigantic concrete and steel structure, but as you can see, there's 4 stories for you, all the way up to the roof. And is there a scuttle? Is there attic access?
Yes, we can go up on the roof.
So we're going to go up on the roof, and hopefully we'll have better reception there for you.
Now on the roof,
So the pipe hasn't all been put in. Sorry for more pipe. We still cutting out, Jeremy?
Just a little bit.
All right, we're getting better. So check it out. They even built roof access. So we're getting better. Right, that's what my wife keeps telling me.
We're back.
So here's your roof access, but up here, what I would think about is, I don't know if this is for, but you could do solar. You could put some solar stuff up in here. How do you de-energize an array? Look at this for confined space rescue. Here's your straight ladder with your cage. You can do all kinds of confined space, activity off of that. And then there's another entrance. But here you are, pretty typical attic. You can build all your utility stuff out. And here you get the bird's eye view. So I'm looking out towards what would be the south. But there's the one house we talked about and walked through. That's your gas props and such. Across the street, you got your 2 Class A facilities. There's your utility barn we talked about. And on the other side of that is that state-of-the-art headquarters, fire station, 3-bay station. But check out all the roads. They're even lined correctly. Got a manhole cover there. You can do manhole emergencies. You got confined space areas. And then if you look out here, going to walk to the other side of it, come out here, and here's your pond, and that's where they're going to be doing all their agricultural stuff. They got a helipad mock-up put out there, and that's trench rescue. That's all that's out there just off to the back of the building. There, you see that kind of like cross on the ground.
Yeah.
Trench rescue.
Ah.
So and there you go. And so pretty amazing facility.
We put our 100 square foot pan up here for on the roof for 2 reasons. One, we do our firefighter pan, but it also makes a roof fire.
So you do roof fire, or you can do pan fires for 3D firefighting if you had a spill or such, and so you can teach the people up here how to do 3D firefighting with your fog, how to control it, get to the valve, shut it down.
Do those slide out into you can set them up into different patterns?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Right. So that's I'm not real familiar with Fire Blast yet. I will be here pretty soon. So I'm hoping that it is everything that they promised. I think it will be. So yeah, we're excited about it. I can't wait to get burning. Nobody else can either. We're all pumped. So
I'm coming, Chief Wintel. Me and Jeremy's coming with us. We're coming to check this out.
okay, come on. You're anytime. Come on.
Jeremy's just excited about Jeremy's excited about the whole Brooks thing.
I'm looking at you two. I'm looking at you two muscle bounds, and I'm thinking, there's our first two out of towners for smoke divers.
Yeah.
We've got two that are smoke diver currently, and that are helping facilitate the Oklahoma smoke diver program that's getting started. We've got three of them that have been through. One of them, he went through, but
How many out of Tulsa?
There's 5 out of Tulsa, I believe, smoke diver. So yeah,
so I just learned about this a couple of years ago. That's not a big thing in the north. And
well, come on now, come on. Come on, give me some more excuses. The ball took a bad bounce. You got to forget, I'm a professional coach, man. I hear all the excuses. I also take all of the heat. We're heading down. We're going to walk back in. Let's talk some more training. How are we doing on time, Jeremy?
We're doing good, Chief. We got 15 minutes left. And I had thought of something while you guys were walking around, and I wanted to hit Jeremy with was I wanted to get his opinion on how they make it work. So obviously we look at this facility and we're like, wow, this is state of the art. They got everything. And you look at a place like where Jeremy is, and this is very, very far-fetched for where he is. And they're a department where they have to make it work for what they have. So I wanted to get Jeremy's opinion and his thoughts on what he does with his guys and his department on being able to utilize the best for what they have. And I wanted to get his thought process on one, the availability of you guys being able to go to the academy. Is that something that you guys do? Is that something that's open to every volunteer corporation in Prince George's County? And if it's not, how do you work around that? Obviously, you said that you have to go out in the community and train. We all agree on that's very important. How do you work around the ability to be able to have the exact kind of facilities that you want to train? Chief, we got to go on a run.
All right, we'll take back over here for you.
All right, I got to talk to you. I'll talk to you soon. All right, Chief, thank you.
Jeremy, RJ, thank you, brothers.
See you, Chief.
Love you both, man. All right, well, we are walking back. John will walk up ahead of me, so you got some kind of human being in the picture here. We're going to walk.
Squad 51.
Yeah, they got the Squad 51 deal. Joe, is our picture still coming through, Joe? Mr. Producer? Joe? Well, anyway, Joe's not talking to me. All right.
One of the things we're able to do, walk right in here, we'll walk through these doors. We were able to, with the vision, everything else, we're able to put some good woodworking tools and some steel tools so that we can build props out of here. Well, we've got a lot of talented firefighters, a lot of people that know that have good hands-on skills. So we've got some things that we could use to facilitate building props, because you're always going to be building things, always going to be building props and maintaining. So we're able to do that.
Wow, this is outstanding. So right in here is going to be the workshop. You can build props, but you can also build, your chocks. You can maintenance your ladders. You can take care of your chainsaws. You can put, sharpen things. You can break them down.
All this stuff, you have to repurpose all that material. Don't just throw it out. It's handy. It's good.
There's no such thing as disposable anything. So this is just they got some covered parking here for the chief's vehicles and such. And folks that also share the space with them here. We're going to walk back through the bay. I think it'll be a more scenic view. And then we'll set.
Shorelines for all of them to keep them plugged in while they're sitting.
And I think to RJ's question, Chief, and we'll talk about it a little bit, before this existed, Owasso did great training, right? They didn't have this facility. You don't need to have this, but the point that we wanted to make was, the size of your community shouldn't determine the size of your dreams. You should think big, because you don't know. The folks are more behind us than not, And if you look at the quality of this facility, obviously second to none. And we are going to ask the chiefs to give us some contact stuff. So we will post that up with this video, so that if you have questions about how did they do it, and how do you convince the founding fathers and such to let you do this, which is important. John's going to go to sit down, and I'm going to shut this one down so we don't get a ton of feedback here, which is always a bad thing. You on there, John?
Just about. Okay, I'm here now.
Good, I left. So we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're back in the air-conditioned office. I don't see it. There we are. Hi. Well, that was an amazing visit, Chief. I got to say, thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. And we were just talking about the fact that you clearly don't need to have, a facility of this stature, but it's a testament to the men and women who were obviously here before you, and yourself, Chief Hurst, and Chief Garrett, the Chief
Vision, Chief Stuckey.
Chief Stuckey in particular. Every project needs a man or a woman who is dedicated to it. And Chief Stuckey obviously was the point man on this.
Unbelievably so.
Chief Stuckey, he lived, breathed, and basically bled this building and this facility, and rightfully he's rightfully proud of it, and should be, and the whole community is in his debt, and Chief Garrett's debt, and Chief Hurst's debt,
and the city council obviously, and the city manager, because without them, obviously this doesn't even get wings.
And Chief Wintel will give us his contact stuff, and he'll put it up on the site. So if you're out there and you're wondering how did they do this, and are thinking about, you're looking at your facility, they can tell you how they did it. And obviously there's a lot of politics involved. And oddly enough, we started off the conversation by mentioning two fellas who are involved with politics, Mr. Stewart and Mr. Limbaugh, who none of that. Although they're involved in that in their personal lives, that had nothing to do with it. It had everything to do with taking care of people and doing the right thing. And so does fire stations. We're above all that silliness. And there's no blue and red in the fire service. It's all just the three most important things in the world. It's your faith, your family, and the flag, which is representative of our great culture. And your culture is your great communities. And maybe your community can't put together something like this, but to the training stuff, there's no excuse not to train. It's the most important thing we do, day in and day out. Train on something. If it's a horrible day and you've got to be ready to roll at any minute, train on things that you can do cognitively. Go online, work out scenarios for different approaches to buildings. Pull up old building plans and do what if to death, right?
Yes.
There's simulation apps out there that cost like $5 that you can buy that put fire and smoke on something if you want to do that. The SimJu Share guy, I think it's like $5 or $10, and it's not the full blown digital combustion, which is an amazing program. Also, they're both amazing programs. If you know how to do that, God bless you. You can.
We've got that here. That's what we use for our driver and captain's tests.
So you can do drags and lifts and carries with one another on the stairwell. You can do all kinds of stuff.
I can do it. So if I can do the fire studio and the digital combustion, I promise you, if I can do that on the computer, anybody can do that.
You can't do anything.
No.
So anyway, some great stuff we looked at, some great guests, and one of the things you often hear about training is getting to the training facility, right? Getting to the headquarters, and sometimes the training facility might be on, say, the outskirts of town, south side, west side, north side. And so if your unit's on the opposite end of town, it could be a 20, 30-minute drive, depending on traffic and everything else, to get to the training facility. So one of the concepts that are out there now are you got these drill towers that you can purchase that you can put into your community. Basically, they take up the footprint of a couple of parking spots, and you can put them up in the parking lot of your fire station and have a drill tower if you want that you can move around. They're basically scaffolding and such.
Yes.
Very popular thing that's happening.
And very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive.
In comparison, absolutely.
And then if you can get your unit out of service, to Jeremy's point, the community always likes to see us out there drilling and training and doing things. whether it's stretching, and always ask permission, from the building owner if you want to throw a couple of ladders. If you can get yourself out of service for a little bit and have someone pick up for you, that's another really great way to just get the training in every day. You ought to have everybody's schedule ought to have a morning drill and an afternoon drill. And I'm not saying it's got to be 3 hours or 2 hours or even 30 minutes. It could be as quick as, hey, we're going to do dawn and doff real quick, or we're going to do decon on the SCBA real quick, because there was a big kerfluffle lately about clean cab. And let me just say this about that, to quote Forrest Gump. I don't necessarily believe that you have to take the SCBAs out of the cab. I think you could clean them and put them back in. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I think if you want to keep the SCBAs in the cab, just make sure after the job's over, you clean them. They're pretty easy to clean. All the major manufacturers will tell you that their components are sealed and such, and there's great products out there that you can buy that you can spray your electronics with that'll help to reduce any kind of moisture issues. But we take them into fires where they get pretty darn wet. So you can clean your SCBA in, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes and then put it back in the rig clean.
Right.
I mean, there's a concept for you.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that's a local issue, right? Like if your boss wants to take them out of the compartment, then you'll take them out of the compartment. But, if your boss just wants them clean them. And I'm all for that. I'm all for keeping our environment as clean as we possibly can. Like if you saw at this station, they have a vestibule that there's a go, no go on the other side. We didn't go into the living quarters. And I apologize for that, but there's a go, no go zone, right? Next time. Yeah. There's a go, no go zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bunker gear doesn't go past this point. And I am totally on board with that. And anything we can do to limit our exposure is a good idea. And let's just be honest about it. Not everybody's going to get sick. Not everybody's going to have mental health issues, but being aware of it and being proactive about all of this is critically important. I don't know what the number is, but the vast majority of us are not going to have any issues, major issues. We're all going to have minor issues. Life's a struggle. We're all going to have minor issues. But, but casually or intentionally or exposing yourself to anything, physical, emotional, spiritual, do that math, right? I'm just going to say I don't think that's necessary.
No, and to a certain extent, I mean, if it's predictable, it's preventable. Obviously, not to the nth degree, and like Chief said, you're going to have issues, but if you can get ahead of it a little bit and curb those issues as much as possible, mitigate it. Hopefully we all retire happy, healthy, bouncing our grandkids on our knees. I don't know.
And the other side of that, Gordon Graham always uses that predictable is preventable. And I kind of disagree with him in one regard. I once asked him on a panel, we were sitting together, and he's a cop guy. And I said, where were you a cop? He said, L.A. I said, oh, you ever have any bank robberies there? And he said, oh, yeah, we had a lot of serious, the North Hollywood shootout and all that. I said, great job with that predictable, preventable stuff right there, Sparky.
That's why I put the caveat for the most part.
Just had to tease my friend Gordon, who I think is one of the finest human beings that's ever walked the face of the planet.
Outstanding.
But there are some things that are just predictable. Like right now, Mrs. Halton is home with a credit card and on her way to Nordstrom's.
Oh,
that's predictable.
Right.
I ain't going to prevent that from a million. I don't want to prevent that. That's going to happen.
So ramen noodles for the next couple of weeks.
God bless us. So anyway, listen, we hope you enjoyed today. It was a little tour of the Owasso, Oklahoma fire station and the state-of-the-art facility. If you have questions about it, Chief John Wintel is going to post his contact information here at the department for you, and he can put you in touch with chiefs that helped really spearhead all of this and how they did it, and talk. If you want to talk about the politics, if you want to talk about the construction, if you want to talk about how they crowdsource the members to come up with these great ideas, they'll be happy to go over all that with you. We are very grateful to our friend RJ and Jeremy for coming in. Those are two great trainers. This is Frank Ritchie and PJ Norwood's normal hour in here for politics and tactics. So if we disappointed you with no politics, sorry. We talk training. So we decided to just go with the training angle today. And we really do appreciate you joining with us. Any final thoughts there, boss?
No, just know, well, yes, there is one. If you're looking for something to train in, one thought, and I know a lot of you already know this and already do this, get with your city planners, get with the people in the city that make it happen. And if your city captures a structure, or if there's something goes abandoned, go train on it. Obviously, obviously we're not able to burn structures like we used to, but we can sure get in there and do a lot of training. Mike Champo has some incredible training minutes. Go out there and look at them. Just come up with your own stuff. think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
If they'll let you manipulate your tools to pull another function out of them, all of them can have another function in them. Just think about it. Learn the
Or if
tools.
they're getting ready to take down a building or do a remodel, go to
Absolutely.
training minutes, check out what Ray is doing with hose stretches. Look at what the Jack Murphy has done in there and some of the inspection stuff, Paul Dansback stuff. Take a look at Mike Champo's work. Look at the stuff that all the great stuff that's in there, Sean Gray and others that you could replicate in all of those facilities. So, and to close, again, we just wanted to say thank you so much to Mr. Limbaugh for these shirts that he made and raised $3 million for us. Thank you to Mr. Stewart for your incredible passion and your unrelenting support of us and helping get the Zagoda bill passed, and for all of our brothers and sisters who've gotten ill from their work at Ground Zero, and we certainly appreciate that. And to Tunnels to Towers people, remember, for $11 you can help support the efforts that Tunnels to Towers people are doing. I will be at the 5K in Oklahoma City this weekend. That's the 31st, and it'll be a great day. That starts at 8:30. Obviously, when I get there a little early, it's going to be in Mitch Park. So if you're in the Dallas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Amarillo area, drive on up. Take your time, hang out. Tunnels to Towers 5K, Oklahoma City. I'm Bobby Halton. This is Chief John Wintel. We sure do appreciate you spending your afternoon with us. We hope you're well. God bless.
Stay safe.